What's happening, fellas? It's your boy Hardcorn, and today we're going to be looking at the newest addition to Action Tamanin, Eleonor. She's a dark elf that commands the powers of nature, but mostly just uses water. Before we get into her, make sure you like and subscribe for more. Now let's get started. Eleonor is our latest addition to Action Tamanin. She's an assist-type character with a demon racial, and it's a very strong combination. She fights using ranged attacks like a mage character. However, she's no white mage as she uses damaging black magic to fight against enemies. Eleonor is all about skill spam so she can end battles fast enough to get past the fact that she has no healing. No attrition, only elimination. Now let's get more into this delicious chocolate cake. Eleonor shares weapons with Kirara. This is a nice cost-saving measure for the many people out there who have raised Kirara, so that Eleonor can start strong immediately. In terms of stats, Eleonor sits in the middle of the pack for the most part. She's got 4687 HP, 3147 attack, 3712 defense, and 3477 on criticals. Real middle-of-the-road type of stuff for a real middle-of-the-road character. She feels like sort of the ranged counterpart to Ingrid with the hard-hitting skills and middling defense. As mentioned earlier, she shares weapons with Kirara. However, since a lot of these weapons are Kirara exclusives, her usable passives and actives are limited. Due to Kirara having the traditional package weapon, the super signature weapon that you get from buying a character is Pure Tears. It's a very thoughtful name, I know. This is her only way to restore HP outside of specific supporters. Eleonor can use the Hebiko special weapon though, for the summer weapon, for the ultimate spam. Due to past events that they have managed to give out 5 tickets for these for a free maxed out summer weapon, so you can actually pick this one up for yourself if you've been playing for a while. It's a very good idea that you do so, because it's an all type, which means both Kirara and Eleonor can use it. And besides, 150% more particles, you can't say no to that. Her signature weapon, though, is the Treasure of the Deep Ocean. It's similar to Felicia's signature weapon, in that more damage to debuffed enemies. It also applies a debuff, but not essentially the best, since if you can get the Hebiko weapon, it's the generally desired solution. That, or if you're willing to fork over the cash, Mugen, Sukuna, or Pure Tears. Eleonor has her own very special status ailment. She applies the Wet debuff, which is a combination of Hellfire and Terror. It stacks up to 5 times for progressively more slow, attack down, and duration refresh. It's a very useful debuff just about anywhere. The problem is applying it with skills and supporters. Attack down is very useful in VR, though the slow itself gets rendered useless on some and weakened on others. Now let's take a look at some of her costumes. We got Frost Fairy, her friend outfit is Kiara's. Summer Beach, the swimsuit, the BDSM costume, the bunny girl, gym shorts, and the bathrobe. For her Affinity Effect, it's additional item drop rate by 20%. Now we're going to move on to skills. Her Taimanin art is Aqua Tears. It's a Taimanin art. Its description actually improperly reflects what actually happens. It's only 3 attacks to complete the chain. They just left this right here instead of putting 3 to chop it up right there. It's not a lack of trying, it's more or less a lack of trying, because Murasaki's has 3 icons. This has a solid 5. It makes it do more damage, have higher particle charge gain. However, the projectiles when they hit on impact explode, hitting more enemies at once. The projectiles don't move very quickly, so if it misses and hits someone else or another object, they will explode and still possibly do more damage. And also, since it would be hitting more people at once, particles gain much more quickly. When you're using the Hebiko weapon, this thing just like flies. Great stuff. However, you can walk without it. Now we go to Stampede. It's a long-distance, hard-hitting line drive attack. Being in green and having a crit damage modifier is a match made in heaven. This hits extremely hard. It flattens just about everything or severely damages them to where you can jump in and get other skills off. It's a great break-in tool on just about any sort of build. Like, I've seen this thing hit like 900,000 damage and she's still only level 75. That's without the 81 modifiers or boosts. So she can easily just go multi-million with this thing. Now we go to Geyser Burst. It's her big power dunk skill where she jumps in and creates a pillar of water that sucks in enemies. It fits in just about anywhere due to the operational cost. The caveat of the skill itself is that the pillar is decent sized, and the whirlpool left over afterwards is very small. It only fits in about 1 or 2 enemies. However, the suction effect is extremely desirable since it pulls in trash and can separate threatening enemies. This skill can be interrupted very easily due to the small casting animation. You'll need to time it right to get it to its fullest potential. Now onwards to Maelstrom. It's the huge nuclear warhead whirlpool. Effectively the ranged version of Geyser Burst. This skill also has a suction effect built in, but it's the signature blue skill. It's preferable in situations where you need to stay out of the action and chip some armor. Nice all-in-one with the speed buff, range booster, and damage spike for really hard hitting over time. Once again, she has a casting animation that is rife for getting interrupted. She also has got to wait through one basic attack and then the casting, so a great distance or crowd control is required so that she can get it off safely, because safety is honestly one of the highest concerns that she has. Acid Rain. It creates a cloud that is directly in front of her. Doesn't go anywhere else to the target location, it's right in front of her. This skill is essentially a bad version of Celestial Fox. No course correction on kill, less attacks, higher opportunity cost, much more dangerous, longer casting, and a very small AoE. The attack range boost in blue is very desirable since it actually makes it a decent skill. Green's duration increase can actually work with Maelstrom or Geyser's suction to do great damage. This is also one of our wet appliers in red. For its shortcomings as a skill, it's great at building fast stacks of wet. Now we're on to Feral Spirit. After a skill or basic attack chain finishes, you press dodge to not dodge. On use, she creates birds that fly extreme distances to deal great damage. She also uses this skill to apply wet in red. It's a great skill to apply it with, since it doesn't matter the distance and it'll apply a stack. If it's one target, it'll max it out extremely quickly. However, the blue boost to speed is the most desirable due to the fact that it speeds up the entire animation and others, so it makes it safer for her to get the whole thing off and also other skills. Now we move to Reflect Ray. This is a very special skill. It takes a bit of aiming to make it work to its fullest potential, because she drops it directly in front of her, just like Acid Rain. The absolute center is obviously that will do the most damage, so you need to use a suction skill to get the most out of it. Without one, this skill is prone to miss who you want to hit, and you'll either nick them with the edge of the skill or you just miss. It's very good on bosses though, due to the targeting system placing the enemy always in the middle. It does nothing else really but just hit extremely hard. Many hits, so it can be nice on getting on-hit effects to apply. Now here's Spirit Blast. This skill calls over a bird to deliver an explosion. It leaves a damaged pillar on impact. Being a double dash skill, you'll use it as needed and also when you don't. Not really the most interesting of skills, it has a range booster, stun, and wet applier. The stun has some nice use in arena, it's cool for long distance wet application, but Feral Spirit activating from everything else is a much more versatile option. If you have the 4th slot, this is a cool skill spam filler. Other than that, it's a pass outside of arena. Now let's look at Aqua Curtain, because this is actually a pretty cool skill. On extreme dodge, she summons spears that do damage on contact and give her ranged damage immunity. So it's similar to Astaroth's satellite flares, but it actually has a really good effect. This is the upgrade to Denki. The ranged damage immunity completely invalidates certain bosses and enemies. Of course, she's still vulnerable to melee, but however, not getting shot out of a cast or eating a homing projectile is very good. The spears doing damage is almost irrelevant, and the ranged damage immunity is not considered a buff, so you can't use any buff extension passives. It lasts 6 seconds every time, and that the lowest cooldown you can get with this is about not 8.3 is like 9.3 seconds, so you're about 3 seconds without it. So just play an attrition game and you'll be able to use it again. It's a very, very good skill because it's an immunity. It comes with a lot of really good buffs too, so it's very fun to play around with and take in about just in any build. Now here's Aqua Splash. It's a contingency attack. She gets hit, dodges backwards, leaving an explosion to injure and slow down her attackers. This works on the same concept as every one of the counterattacks with an AoE effect. Effective due to her range situation, but it's no bomb escape. I mean, it's not really worth getting the 81, but she really wants the 81 for her stats so she can survive for longer.
学園の餌食になりたいのはどいつだ。
Alrighty then, now let's go and conclude on this lovely lady. Eleonor confirms my suspicions about her as a character from her trailer. She's a side grade to Kirara and suffers from many of the same problems. No healing in the kit and long casts that create trouble for a character who needs to play from ranged. Kirara has the advantage of fast skills up close, but Eleonor has many close range casting skills. Hot Chocolate over here desires super armor very badly. Her limited supporter solves that, but that's not so good for the rest of the player base. Like 1% of the whole player base is going to probably have this, and it makes the difference on Eleonor herself. The orb she has floating above her head created a lot of visual clutter, and I really don't like that. Like they could have just had it, floating like they do with Kirara's or Noah's. They have theirs floating next to them, so you can actually like see in front of you, and it blocks so much because they're rotating and they glow all the time. Kind of annoying. But even at 75, her skills do incredible damage. Like you can hit nearly 1,000,000 with a lot of her skills, and when she goes to 81, she'll be able to exceed beyond that. It's truly her living up to her black mage nature, with great damage but fragile as all get out. One of her strongest features is her double dash with no delay inside it, so you can spam it and create distance quickly. Due to sharing Kirara's components, Many of Kiara's high investment players, and I know there's a good amount of you out there, can get Eleanor to power up really fast, because she needs the power to escape the pit of mediocrity to get on the base level of actually good characters. Much like many of the characters in the game, you can miss this one. However, if she gets you hard, or if you want the water to Ingrid's super hot fire, then go right ahead. However, don't say I didn't warn you. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, favorite, and subscribe for more gaming content, and as always, I'll see you next time.